Hey everyone, I'm here with Megan Snedden, and I'm so excited for today's live today. Did I get your last name
Yes.
correct?
Snedden like Armageddon.
Okay, perfect. So super excited. This is our first live episode in the Best Self Hub. So I'm so grateful you're here today and gracing us with your presence. So excited to learn more about, why you do what you do as a travel photographer, and then speak to people today in the group about how they can stay focused on creating momentum with big goals and also taking action on their dreams. So that's what the call is about today. So we're going to be
Cool.
online live. You can type in the chat, and then for those of you watching the replay, you can also leave your comments, and we'll get back to you in the feed after the live. For the next 30 minutes, we're going to be here. And why don't you first tell everyone a little bit about how you came to be a travel photographer?
That's an excellent question. After I graduated school, I went to college in Santa Barbara at UCSB. I had studied international relations and writing, and not really knowing that I was going to be going into journalism at all, really. But I really had this call to adventure. And I just chose to follow that mysterious calling and take action on it. So I moved to South America and did, around the world trip. And during that time, I had made connections with just some really small local newspapers and had started writing for them and doing photographs for them. And so when I set off on, my adventures around the world, I kept doing that as a foreign correspondent. And there was just like the idea popped in my head of like, I'm doing this for small publications and honing my skills as a photographer, and I'm really loving it. I noticed that publications like, the LA Times and New York Times and others, like somebody was doing the travel content in those publications. And I just thought, like this is a possibility for my life and I'm going to make this happen. And I moved to New York City and everything started taking off from there.
Nice. Wow. See, this is wonderful. I mean, I'm so lucky to know you through mutual friends and found you extremely inspiring, but I didn't even know these pieces of how this came to be for you. So it really was through travel and exploration.
Yeah, it's been a lot of just trusting my intuition on like what is next and what the next step is, because it's really one of those careers where there isn't a clearly laid out path. It's not like, oh, do you want to be a travel writer or travel photographer? Here's how to do it. It's not being a nurse or a doctor where they're like step one, step two, step three. It literally has just been a process of like just trusting myself and like checking in with myself regularly about like, what do I do next? And then just following that, even if it seems semi crazy or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. So I could imagine some fears have come up along the way. And for people watching that are maybe a little nervous to take a risk in life, or maybe nervous to take a risk in a different line of work, like what would you say to that individual where there isn't a clear path? We have so many options, I feel like, in life that it could be like,
Yes.
where do I start, right?
Yeah. Okay. I would definitely say that one of the biggest dilemmas especially for creative people, is the fact that there are so many options.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's kind of like, how do you make a decision on what to do and what do you do first when there's so many ways that you can go? And I really think it's a matter of taking time to get clear on that, but not getting too in your head, like doing what you have to like list everything out, like all the possible directions and things that you could do, and kind of looking at that on paper logically and being like, okay, what really is the first thing that I should do here? And then actually taking action on it. So it's really easy, like you said, with the fear and the uncertainty, and especially when something is totally new to you, to just stay in that like hypothetical space of like, oh, this sounds like it would be a cool career, or like, this is definitely something I would love to do one day. And you might even take that initial step of like laying it all out on paper and being like, okay, I have my first clear step. But then just never take action on it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that you really just have to commit to following through. Even if
Mm-hmm.
that means like putting some measures in place, like some accountability from other people to make sure that you actually follow through.
Got it. And
Hmm.
that's been huge for me too. So just speaking to the moving forward and taking action piece, I know for myself, like I have an accountability partner that I meet with twice a week, and it's really helped me in my personal life and professional life with taking action, following through. Because sometimes even like doing like a live like this or starting like a new creative project like this Facebook group could be like, oh, it's such a great idea. Well, later. Do you know what I mean? Like there's so many other things that we can focus our energy on, but I've been working on taking inspired action too in my life, and that's really helped
Yeah.
me. Where if I get a download or I get an idea, I at least act on it same day. Like
Right.
some action, something's happening. Because
Yeah.
I think otherwise we can cut ourselves off from that.
Definitely. And what came to mind too was the best action that you can take to drive your goals forward is that which has a big consequence or some type of consequence. So for me, when I graduated school and I was like trying to build my portfolio in the travel space, and I had this idea that I really wanted to live in South America, there was so much that came up around that because it was just like a crazy idea. It was not like I had no connections. I had never really traveled on my own like that before. And it was really scary. So it was easy to put that off. And the most important action step that I took at that time was purchasing my ticket. So it was, you know, a $500 to $700 plane ticket. And when I bought that with no real plans in place, I knew that once I had that enforced, like if I didn't follow through, I was essentially going to lose out on $700. And I'm looking at that and going, okay, I have a month. I have a month now to figure this out, you know, and,
Yeah.
and there it is. And it's all happening, you know, because a lot of times what happens when you don't set a system up for yourself like that is that you get so caught up in perfectionism that you think like, oh, but is this step like the perfect step? Versus when you have something down the track that you've already taken action on and committed to, like, let's just say I want to be a public speaker, but I'm, you know, whatever, I'm not perfect. It's like you book your first speaking gig and it's 1 month from now and it's already in place. So you like have to figure it out because it's happening, you know? Yeah.
So it's almost like not creating an out for yourself.
Yes.
Like, okay, like the big action,
it's done.
It's like this commitment piece. And I think that's really key for people watching and we're going to watch after, if we can like impress upon them the taking action piece. Like if they already know what that goal is, or they want to move, or whatever that is, their big dream, it's putting something like a date down on paper, something that like they're committed to. And if you're driven by the loss of a chunk of money or like a flight, then that's your clear move. That's next.
Yes.
If it's something you truly want, then you got to be willing to put some skin in the game. That's what I'm hearing.
Yes.
So, and
just adding on to that though too, sometimes you have to just do things and explore things to find out if something is something that you really want. Like, you know, otherwise dating wouldn't exist, for example, right? Like you have to go on actual dates with real people to find out like, oh, that guy was not what I wanted at all. And this isn't what I wanted. Oh, but this is more like what I wanted. So there's no action that's truly lost. Like I don't believe in a real failure because there's always something that you can get out of an experience that you, even if you're like, okay, let's just say when I first moved to New York and I was trying to build my portfolio in photography and get a really solid footing underneath me and figure out where exactly I wanted to go with it. I got an internship at a photography studio of like a celebrity photographer. He worked for a very high profile magazine. He did lots of fashion, lots of celebrities. And I took on that internship. It was intense. And the most important thing that I got out of it was the fact that I don't want to do that. Wow. I was like, yeah, this is just not for me. I don't ever want to, and I never did it again.
Yeah. And I just think that is like such a piece of wisdom that I don't want people to miss in this live is like allowing yourself to, take the action, explore, and actually be okay with like, this isn't what I want. Because I know that for example, like my calling and what I'm meant to do is coach. Like I know without a doubt, like that's why I'm here. And, but along the way of figuring that out, and it sounds like your experience in New York as well with this like high profile photographer is probably similar, where I do have that characteristic as well, like where I've like allowed myself to like explore, make big mistakes. I had tried like so many different careers. I thought for a while I was going to be a baker. So I had
awesome.
a corporate job. I had a corporate job, and then I got a job at a bakery on the weekends called like Buttercream Bake Shop, and I was going to be this like wedding planner / baker. And then I got into this, like, instead of me like buying the bakery and going to school, I thought, okay, well, what's the smartest thing to do? I found someone I really admire, amazing work, amazing baker, and I'm like, hey, can I work for you? So I worked on the weekends. And then I soon realized, I'm like, I don't want to do this. I was like, the hours are awful. All I do is eat pastries all day. Like, I was like, this isn't really my thing. But unless I like, had allowed and explored myself, I might still be sitting in the corporate job where I'm thinking about, it would have been so great to be a baker.
Yeah.
Well, no, now I know. So I just like, wanted to share that.
It is so important for your internal peace to explore things that you're daydreaming about, just to get that answer if it's a yes or no. Like I had that mysterious calling to go live in South America, and it literally was a voice in my head that would live in South America. And I'm going, this is crazy. I have no idea where this is coming from, but I just feel like I have to do it. If anything, just to answer that and give myself peace. Because when I was looking at the consequences of doing that, I was going, worst case scenario, I show up and I hate it and I don't want to live there. And then I just turn around and I come back home and I resume, whatever lifestyle that I was, going to create here, and always knowing going forward into the future, that wasn't for me, which ultimately it did end up being for me. And I spent 2 years there, but it's so important because I don't want people to get to 40, 50, 60, and they look back on their life and go, man, I really wish I would have just experimented with being a baker just so I could know for sure or not. If that was something that was meant for me. Completely.
And how do you tie in the piece? Because I know we spoke before the live and we were like, oh, what can we offer the audience here at the Hub? And we had talked a bit about as well covering how to create new circumstances. So say if someone feels like a bit stuck, or they're in a holding pattern in their life and they're not seeing much progress, like what does that mean to you to like be able to create a new circumstance? Or like, is there like some seeds of wisdom you'd like to share on that you've had in your own life?
Yeah. Thinking about how I want to tackle that, because it really is so important. Because we don't have to dive too much into this, but I've been through a lot of adversity. And so that means I've been through some high highs and some low lows in the emotional realm. And it's easy when you're in that low space to lose your motivation that also fuels your creative work. And it can be very discouraging, and it can be very distracting. And for me too, when I'm not in a good mental headspace, it's easy to buy into that, and which leads down to a downward spiral. So then it's like when you get into that spot where you've really like backed yourself into a corner emotionally, and you're going through a hard time, and you don't, there's no clear path laid out. Like there's just, whatever is going on in your life, it's like you got to do something to break the cycle. So I think just like fundamentally, almost what's coming up as a theme for this talk is taking action. Yeah. So I think action is action. So even if something looks like it's unrelated to what you're trying to do or what you're trying to create, it actually is in a way. So like if I get into a funky place, first step for me is with myself on what I call like my fundamentals, and just asking like, okay, am I getting out into nature and, like surfing, swimming, hiking? Am I exercising regularly? Am I seeing friends in person and connecting with them? Am I going to social events? I think it's just doing something first that's going to feed your soul, your mind, your body, just to take care of yourself, and also just allowing yourself a second to take the pressure off, because you can't, when you're in a like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Or like a state of depression, you can't think clearly. And you really need to do something to support yourself and just change that circumstance first, so that you can at least start to feel better. So that when you feel a little bit more relief, then you can be like, okay, now, what's next? And as far as like changing your circumstance, you are more powerful than you realize to create what you want in your life. And in terms of that same notion of creating circumstances that don't exist out of nowhere, this is where my like spiritual side shows, because I'm a big supporter of, I guess, co-creating with the universe, or as some might call it, or really tapping into your intuition and your guides, and being like, okay, admitting like, I don't know what's next. I don't know what to do or how to start. And just to tie this back into what I do, like if all of a sudden, if like, let's just say you worked in an office and you were like, I want to be a travel photographer, like, where do you even like, where do you even go? So for me, it's always a matter of being like, okay, ask the question. Like, okay, what's the first step? And then waiting for the answer to come through. And I might even be a little bit more quiet during those phases where I'm trying to like find the way forward, and like spending more time in meditation, spending more time journaling. I might even like poke around on the internet, Googling things like, how do you become a travel photographer, without the intent of finding a hard and fast answer, just so I'm starting to just like get downloads on like what to do. And somehow, some way, especially when you believe you will find the answer, something will come up that you're like, okay, here's like my first little baby step. Here's something that I can do. And with the same idea of like law of attraction and asking for guidance, I might also be like, okay, where should I go today? Like, who should I meet right now? Like, and I really tap into my intuition that's like, Megan, you should be at a cafe in Beverly Hills today, or go have a drink at this hotel, or go do this, call that person, connect with this person, put this on Facebook. Like, hey, I've never been in the worked in travel space, but I'm interested in blah, blah, blah. Like, I literally listen to like what I think that I might do, and then I just do it. I'm like, I have no idea why I think that I should go have a tea at the Hilton right now, but for whatever reason, like, I'm just going to do that, because fundamentally what that communicates is like, I am willing to do what it takes to invite this experience into my life. And then when you get into the flow of that energy, it really invites in more, like you will be brought more and more and more. And like, who knows, maybe you'll end up connecting with someone crazy at the Hilton when you go have a tea there or something, or maybe not, but it's also like staying away from beating yourself up. Because you're attached to a specific outcome. Like, you're thinking, oh, I did this, I wanted this to happen, and it didn't. It's more like, no, I followed through on that mysterious action step that I really didn't know the end game. And everything just kind of like played out. So it's like just really allowing yourself to flow into that, and also reach out for support.
Got it. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I think that's so true in my life as well, and so valuable to follow that inner wisdom and instinct, because if you have a desire, it's like it's there for a reason. I believe it's to be realized and expressed in the world, and it's okay if it doesn't work out, or it's okay if you realize I don't want to be a baker, but at least at least you don't have that energy leak anymore of like thinking about it. So, for those of you on the live right now, hi Maddie, hi Steve, we're open to any of your questions too during the live if you want to type them in. Thank you for joining us. And also wanted to just kind of like a fun piece of information, a little bit more about Megan and her journey. She recently just got back from Kenya, and it made me feel inspired to wear these earrings today.
Yeah, I love
them. Are they tigers? Yeah, they're tigers.
Yeah, they're so cute. Yes.
So perhaps you can share a little bit about that adventure, because not a lot of people have, been to Africa, been to Kenya, and especially in your realm, in your world of travel photography. Like, how was that?
Oh my gosh. Well, I guess the first thing that I'll share, if anybody wants to see photographs from my experience from Kenya, I just recently relaunched my website. So I have some new galleries on there, including the one from Africa. And I also post to Instagram every single day. So there's lots of fun stuff on there as well. And it was really a life changer. I've never before this been to Africa before. And so this really was my first time going there. And it was just incredible. I got to go to an orphanage and, connect with the founder of this orphanage and like hear her story. And it was really emotional and very moving. And I got to go on safari, and there's really something about being immersed in that environment and being connected to the earth in that way, where you're seeing these wild animals like with your real eyes and not just watching them on like BBC. And this really, for me, is just such a joyous cross section between all of these things that I love to do. I love to be outside exploring. I love to be connecting with interesting people. And I love to wake up early and go to bed late and just have these type of like really enriching full days of new and refreshing experiences where you're just like playing outside and experiencing just like, unique and beautiful things. And then to also be able to photograph that and share it with the world and write stories about it. Because ultimately I had gone to Kenya on assignment for work. So there were a few different magazines that I was shooting for and writing stories, and those will be out soon. Yay! And it really, I really feel very fortunate that I've chosen, I guess, to create this lifestyle that just gives me a lot of enrichment and freedom and fun. Yeah.
And I don't want people to miss that, your wording, like your verbiage around it, that I've chosen. That's huge. Like, you're like, I'm in choice, I'm creating this. And I find it extremely inspiring. And from the first time I met you, I was like, wow, there's something about this girl. She's like a firecracker. She's got it going on, like super
life
positive,
is good,
enthusiastic. And so this is great to have been able to like share what you do, kind of your philosophy around a bit about like your approach on life. And as well, I would love to share with everyone on the live, how they can find you, like your Instagram handle. We can put it in the feed, but if you can say it now for everyone, that way they can find you and look at some of those amazing photos that you're posting.
Mm-hmm. So it's pretty simple. Like my Instagram and my website are both just my first name, last name. So it's just Megan, Megan, Snedden, Snedden. So Instagram is at Megan Snedden, and my website is megansnedden.com. Instagram is really fun because I really enjoy, engaging in a conversation with people about creativity and travel. On there. And I also host like giveaways, and then there's, a series of links there of different, ways that people can connect with me. In the future, I'm moving to hosting photography workshops. And if you're in Los Angeles, Insta walks where we go and take pictures together. And so these are all in the works.
I'm like, I want to come.
Oh my God, that'd be so fun.
Yeah, that would be really fun. I'll be like the person on my iPhone taking photos.
Oh yeah, that would be the point. Yes.
Oh, okay, that would be like acceptable. So
yes.
And then, yeah, just to recap what we were speaking about today. So I really felt like the theme of this conversation was to encourage people to like up level their action taking when they get like a hit of inspiration, and to know, not beat yourself up if like a business venture or something that you put yourself on the line to try didn't work out per se, but really knowing that it's working out in your personal evolution.
Yes.
So yeah. And
that all sounds about right to me.
That sound about right? Okay, great.
Yeah.
Well, if there's any other last messages you want to leave with the audience today, we still have a couple minutes on the live.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would just add, I'm very open to just connecting with people. So my email address is also on my website and on my Instagram. So if anyone has questions, like feel free to shoot me a message.
Yeah. Oh, and perhaps you could tell, I think this is brilliant, and it's something that you and I spoke about the last time we were having time together, that you also have another brand that's starting, isn't it called Be Kind?
I haven't really titled it yet.
Oh, okay. Maybe I'm letting like the cat out of the bag a little bit too soon, but
it's okay. It's okay. Yes, it's
like a random acts of kindness, which I was really inspired by.
Yeah, it's been really, really fun just collaborating with different people on my Facebook and on different brands that I work with in order to just create spontaneous moments of joy for others. And yeah, on my website, I have a video that I made recently about a girl who I had found out about that had, recently lost her dad. And I surprised her with a big bouquet of flowers and a gift. And I have a few other like acts of kindness that I'm working on right now. Like I'm bringing a family together that hasn't seen each other in a long time, like in Washington. And yeah, it's just, it's in the works at the moment, but it's going to be really fun.
Awesome. I would love for you to share that video, because I've seen it. It's really moving in the Facebook group after.
Oh, cool. That would be great.
Yeah, I would love for everyone to see it. So, well, thank you so much for, taking this full 30 minutes plus to be online with me and do the live today. I really do appreciate your time and value your time. And yeah, have an amazing day. And thanks for those of you watching live and after. Leave your comments and let us know, what you're working through right now. We won't know you watched the live if you don't leave a comment later. So would love to hear your feedback as well. So I'm going to go ahead and end the broadcast, and I will see you later.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.